Hey guys, it's not often I comment on the current stuff. I like to use older events that have transpired to see what lessons we can extrapolate from those when it comes to the reality check mindset. But I've had no exaggeration over 20 people message me about certain events that took place out in Ontario where an individual has been charged for someone coming into his home. And he was the one who got charged with assault. Now, what a lot of the people that are clutching their pearls and up in arms about with this is, well, he was just defending himself. The guy was in his home. He shouldn't be there. 100%. 100% correct. The intruder was also charged. So the intruder faced a raft of charges. So it's not like they're getting off scot-free. It's just that the homeowner, from what we can tell, simply by the information that's been released, may have gone above and beyond what was required and necessary in the circumstances. One of the reasons the self-defense industry is in the state it's in today is because everyone's obsessed with one of two things: either looking good, in which case you end up with ineffectual self-defense, or they're obsessed with everybody being a ninja in a hedgerow and just killing everybody without due course. I'm exaggerating for comic effect, of course, but when you have a lot of the self-defense community and martial arts instructors saying, the criminals have got more rights than the homeowners and this is bullshit and this shouldn't happen, that tells you a lot about the state of the industry. And it also shows that people that are claiming to do self-defense aren't. In the first instance, self-defense isn't technically something you teach. It's a legal definition. It's why another reason I like the word self-protection. But I'm not so precious about it to not understand that it hasn't become synonymous with what we do in society. What is important to recognize is that we have to be accountable for everything that we do. We have to be able to explain everything that we do. And sometimes you can do the right thing, you just can't explain why you did it. For those that understand what it means, there's something in Canada called a Feeney warrant. I'm not going to get too much into the details of it here, but a Feeney warrant came about because the police officers absolutely had the right to do what they did. They just couldn't explain it. Therefore, they lost that right. Therefore, Feeney warrants are now part and parcel of the law within Canada. And it's the same when it comes to self-defense laws. Anyone saying the criminals have more rights than the people that defend themselves is an idiot. I'm sorry, but you are. You're an idiot. They don't. They have the same rights. Your rights stop where mine start, and vice versa. So this doesn't mean that just because you're a criminal you should be treated nicely. There are times and places where you'll absolutely beat the shit out of someone. You may even end someone. These are all part of the force continuum. You cannot go above and beyond, though, and it's as simple as that. And this isn't new. This isn't a current political woke climate as other people will try and paint it for their own agendas. This has been going on for years. There are cases back in the UK where a homeowner, an elderly farmer, was repeated as several home invasions over the time, or burglaries as they call them in the UK, and the offenders were shot by him with his gun, and he was charged for it. Now, what was not often discussed with that is he shot them as they were running away. This isn't now self-defense. This is punitive, and whether we agree with it or not is a separate issue. That's just the way the law is. So if you're purely focused upon the physical, and if your instructor is giving you physical skills, you don't have a self-defense instructor. You have a martial arts instructor wearing jeans. What you need to do is have someone that is able to educate you on the nuances of behavior, whether we agree with it or not, whether we consider it's a fact or something that should be or not. We have to be able to educate our students, the general public, if that's what we're doing in the big seminars, and we have to educate ourselves on what the law is. Now, if you're in England, if you're in Canada, if you're in the US, you're in Australia, and wherever else, the law will be different for you depending on where you are. So you have to educate yourself on that. Generally speaking, it is the same. You can do what is necessary and no further than that. What you have to make sure you are in control of at all times is your actions. I can't control who's going to break into my house. I can't control what is going to happen to me if I'm walking down the street. What I can control is my reaction to those circumstances. So when you're developing a self-protection strategy, or when you're going to seek out self-protection instruction from someone, make sure they aren't just teaching you how to hit things in a more exciting manner than before, because self-protection is an all-encompassing sort of umbrella term. 10% physical is what we're referring to. The 90% of the iceberg is underneath the water, and that, my friend, is what's going to sink your ship, which is exactly what happened in this situation here. It's also worth pointing out at this juncture that being charged is not the same as being found guilty. What it means is something the police themselves can't ascertain based on the evidence that they have to make a judgment call on. They will do this all the time. I myself have been arrested whilst I was a police officer on the basis of a complaint that came in. I was arrested, I was interviewed, and I was de-arrested at the end of it. An arrest is simply a temporary removal of your liberties in order to answer to an alleged offence. A charge simply means that there is sufficient evidence has been established at that juncture to put this before a jury, a magistrate, a judge, whatever it happens to be, in order to establish guilt, innocence, or otherwise. And that's the other thing as well. Not guilty and innocent are not the same thing. Sometimes charges get dropped before it even goes to court. All it simply means is it met a threshold that the police were not able to dismiss out of hand for various reasons. And in the absence of any information relating to the offence or the injuries, we can just look at what's the more likely outcome. We extrapolate from that. If you're unable to do that and separate that from a personal sort of outrage on it, again, you've got a problem with your outlook to self-protection, whether that's as an instructor or as a practitioner. We have to be better. Society is difficult enough as it is, and self-protection is difficult enough as it is. We can't fall foul of the second enemy. The system is basically blind. It's neutral. It takes facts as they stand. So whether we think that we should have the right to do that, and in certain states you do, you have stand your ground and castle doctrines, but in other ones you do not. So if you can do what is absolutely necessary to make yourself safe, end whatever threat happens to be, and can explain why, you're probably going to be good to go. And again, just because you can go further does not mean you have to. Because if you should train yourself to condition to stop when you need to stop, you're greatly increasing your chances of there not being a situation where you have to be charged, be before someone explaining something. 9 times out of 10 is because you've reacted, not acted, which is another reason why that conscious thought process has to be hardwired into you. If it isn't, you're already setting yourself up for failure. What I always recommend you guys do is go through my reality check course. I talk about this mindset and this priming. Whether you want to go all the way in or not isn't the thing. If you choose to do that, you go for it because you're the one that's going to explain it. But that's the point. Choose. When you're having a hard time accounting for your actions, and the secondary enemy, which is the system, is going to hit you from the side. When you pick a self-defense instructor, guys, you've got to be careful that you're picking one that knows what they're doing, and that just doesn't mean knowing how to chin someone. Self-protection is something I've made my life for over 30 years now, and I continue to teach and practice what I preach. I hope that you guys stay safe out there, and I hope this just gives you a little bit of extra insight into what's going on.